A simple rule dictates my buying. Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. Wall Street is the only place that people ride to in a Rolls Royce to get advice from those who take the subway. Trust in American ingenuity. I do. American magic has always prevailed, and it'll do so again. Fear is the most contagious disease you can imagine. Remember that the stock market is a manic depressive. You've got to understand accounting. You've got to. That's gotta be like a language to you. Should you find yourself in a chronically leaking boat, energy devoted to changing vessels is likely to be more productive than energy devoted to patching leaks. Our favorite holding period for stocks is forever. We're just the opposite of those who hurry to sell and book profits when companies perform well but who tenaciously hang on to business that disappoint. It's far better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price than a fair company at a wonderful price. The most important thing to do if you find yourself in a hole is to stop digging. Beware the investment activity that produces applause. The great moves are usually greeted by yawns. For the investor, a too high purchase price for the stock of an excellent company can undo the effects of a subsequent decade of favorable business developments. If returns are going to be 7 or 8% and you're paying 1% for fees, that makes an enormous difference in how much you're going to have in retirement. In the business world, the rear-view mirror is always clearer than the windshield. The key to investing is not assessing how much an industry is going to affect society, or how much it will grow, but rather determining the competitive advantage of any given company, and above all, the durability of that advantage. Don't invest in something you don't understand. The important thing is to know what you know and know what you don't know. You cannot make a good deal with a bad person. Don't buy stock unless you think it's undervalued. Just buy something for less than it's worth. Whether we're talking about socks or stocks, I like buying quality merchandise when it's marked down. The three most important words in investing are margin of safety. Uncertainty actually is the friend of the buyer of long-term values. As in the case with marriage, business acquisitions often deliver surprises after the I-do's. In my view, for most people, the best thing to do is owning the S&P 500 index fund. They are huge amounts of money people pay for advice they don't really need. Every decade or so, dark clouds will fill the economic skies, and they will briefly rain gold. Don't pass up something that's attractive today because you think you'll find something better tomorrow. If a business does well, the stock eventually follows. Calling someone who trades actively in the market an investor is like calling someone who repeatedly engages in one-night stands a romantic. The stock market is designed to transfer money from the active to the patient. All there is to investing is picking good stocks at good times and staying with them as long as they remain good companies. I never attempt to make money on the stock market. I buy on the assumption that they could close the market the next day and not reopen it for 5 years. Successful investing takes time, discipline, and patience. No matter how great the talent or effort, some things just take time. You can't produce a baby in 1 month by getting 9 women pregnant. Price and value aren't always the same. Don't pay too much. Price is what you pay. Value is what you get. It is a terrible mistake for investors with long-term horizons, among them pension funds, college endowments, and savings-minded individuals, to measure their investment risk by their portfolio's ratio of bonds to stocks. Lose money for the firm and I'll be understanding. Lose a shred of reputation for the firm and I'll be ruthless. Do not take yearly results too seriously. Instead, focus on 4 or 5 year averages. The business schools reward difficult, complex behavior more than simple behavior, but simple behavior is more effective. There seems to be some perverse human characteristic that likes to make easy things difficult. You cannot make a good deal with a bad person. Don't deal with someone you don't trust. The stock market is a no-called strike game. You don't have to swing at everything. You can wait for your pitch. You don't need to be a rocket scientist. Investing is not a game where the guy with a 160 IQ beats the guy with 130 IQ. Stay calm. The sillier the market's behavior, the greater the opportunity for the business-like investor. Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. The best way about investments is to be in a room with no one else and to just think. If that doesn't work, nothing else is going to work. What we do is not beyond anyone else's competence. I feel the same way about managing that I do about investing. It's not necessary to do extraordinary things to get extraordinary results. The most important investment you can make is in yourself. The most important quality for an investor is temperament, not intellect. Rule number 1 is never lose money. Rule number 2 is never forget rule number 1. You only learn who has been swimming naked when the tide goes out. It's during hard times that winners and losers get exposed. If you aren't willing to own a stock for 10 years, don't even think about owning it for 10 minutes. When seeking directors, CEOs don't look for pit bulls. It's the Cocker Spaniel that gets taken home. The longer you invest, the lower your risk of losing money. When trillions of dollars are managed by Wall Streeters charging high fees, it will usually be the managers who reap outsized profits, not the clients. I have all the possessions I want. I have a lot of friends who have a lot more possessions. But in some cases, I feel the possession possesses them, rather than the other way around. Be frugal and live sparingly. Never depend on a single income. Make an investment to create a second source. Your best investment is yourself. There's nothing that compares to it. I will tell you how to become rich. Close the doors. Be fearful when others are greedy. Be greedy when others are fearful. Today, people who hold cash equivalents feel comfortable. They shouldn't. They have opted for a terrible long-term asset. One that pays virtually nothing is certain to depreciate in value. We never count on the kindness of strangers in order to meet tomorrow's obligations. When forced to choose, I will not trade even a night's sleep for the chance of extra profits. Forecasts may tell you a great deal about the forecaster. They tell you nothing about the future. The best chance to deploy capital is when things are going down. Diversification is protection against ignorance. It makes little sense if you know what you're doing. Opportunities come in frequently. When it rains gold, put out the bucket, not the thimble. Widespread fear is your friend as an investor because it serves up bargain purchases. Most people get interested in stocks when everyone else is. The time to get interested is when no one else is. You can't buy what's popular and do well.